I got a phone call last week that changed the way I look at every aisle in Walmart. A department manager I have built a relationship with over the years handed me a list of items flagged internally for removal or repricing, all before September 1st. Not over the next year, not gradually, within a single 60-day window. I did what I always do when something sounds too aggressive to be true. I went to the USDA data. I pulled trade filings. I listened to the latest corporate earnings calls. Every single time, the data backed up what this person told me. So here is the full breakdown. 20 items, the exact economic mechanism behind each one, and precisely what you should do about every single one of them before that window slams shut. And let me tell you right now, the number one item on this list has nothing to do with the food inside the package. The problem is the package itself. We will get there. Let us count it down. Number 20, canned Vienna sausages. You probably just rolled your eyes. Vienna sausages? Seriously? That is exactly the reaction most people have, and it is exactly why this product opens the list. The people who keep a few cans tucked in the back of the pantry understand something the rest of the grocery aisle completely misses. This is a fully cooked, shelf-stable protein source that does not need a refrigerator, does not need a stove, does not need water, does not need a microwave. Pop the lid, and your family eats. Period. But here is where it gets ugly. The can holding those sausages is under direct assault. On June 4th of this year, Section 232 steel tariffs got jacked up to 50%, double what they were just a few months prior. The American Action Forum put out a report in April 2026 showing that tariffs on tinplate, the specific type of steel used to manufacture food cans, are now running at roughly 12 times higher than they were back in May of 2018. Armour, the brand you see on most Vienna sausage cans at Walmart, gets its cans from domestic factories. Those factories import approximately 80% of their tinplate from allied countries. So that tariff lands squarely on the final price tag. Go walk the aisle yourself. Those cans that sat at $1.19 for years, they are pushing $1.59 now. And the row is thinner. Fewer cans on the shelf, wider gaps between products. That is the textbook signature of a product being quietly phased down before a shelf reset. Nobody tracks the price of Vienna sausages. Nobody notices when there are two fewer facings in the aisle. And that invisibility is precisely how these items vanish from Walmart during a September reset without a single headline. Pick up a case of 12 on your next run. At current pricing, you are looking at under $20 for more than 3,000 calories of protein that sits in your pantry for years without a second thought. Number 19. Granulated sugar. Here is something that almost nobody thinks about when they look at that bag of sugar in the pantry. It is not just for sweetening your morning coffee. That bag is the foundation ingredient in virtually every baked good, every jar of homemade jam, every batch of preserved fruit, every tomato sauce your family puts up for the winter. And it is getting expensive fast. The Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows sugar and sweets prices climbed 7.1% between May 2025 and May 2026. That is more than double the rate of general grocery inflation. The USDA's June 2026 food price outlook has the category projected to climb 6.9% for the full year, and their upper-end estimate sits near 9%. The reasons are global, and they are stacking. India slapped restrictions on sugar exports back in October 2025 to protect its own domestic supply. That yanked millions of metric tons off the global market overnight. Those restrictions are still active today. Meanwhile, back in the States, domestic beet sugar acreage across the northern plains actually dropped during the spring 2026 planting season, according to USDA crop data. Walk into the baking aisle and grab a 4-pound bag of store-brand sugar. Feels the same as always in your hand. But the sticker reads over $4 in most parts of the country, up from $3.29 just 18 months back. That is 70 cents your family absorbs every single time somebody decides to bake cookies. Sugar is one of those emotional anchors in a household. The smell of something baking in the oven tells everyone under that roof that life is still functioning normally. When affordable sugar disappears, it does not just hit the grocery budget, it changes the feel of your home. Grab 2 extra 4-pound bags on your next trip. Seal them up and store them somewhere cool and dry. Sugar lasts indefinitely when stored properly. Number 18. Imported whole peeled tomatoes. A can of imported whole peeled tomatoes looks identical to the domestic version sitting right next to it on the shelf. Same shape, same label style, same general price range. It is absolutely not the same product economically. The imported can, which is almost always from Italy, now carries a double tariff burden that the domestic version does not. First hit, the Section 232 steel tariff at 50% applies to the can material regardless of where the tomatoes inside were grown. Second hit, the IEEPA reciprocal tariff of 15% on goods imported from the European Union, which went into effect April 2, 2025. Two completely separate tariff layers stacking on top of the exact same product. The Can Manufacturers Institute put out a statement in April 2026, warning that this combination of metal tariffs is creating a bizarre squeeze. Domestically canned goods become less competitive against foreign-filled cans, while at the same time, imported specialty cans get more expensive for consumers. It is a pricing trap from both directions. My Walmart contact told me point blank that the imported Italian tomato section in his store has already been cut from 4 facings down to 2. And that shelf space is not being refilled with the same product. It is getting reassigned to something else entirely. If you have ever worked with a real San Marzano tomato, crushed it between your fingers, and watched that deep red flesh fall apart, you know that no domestic substitute delivers the same result. That specific sweetness, that acidity balance, that meaty texture comes from volcanic soil in one particular Italian valley. There is no shortcut to reproducing it. If imported whole-peeled tomatoes are how your household builds its sauce, buy a case of 12 right now. At roughly $3 per can, that is $36 for an entire year of sauce foundations sitting in your pantry. If this is making you rethink how you approach the grocery store, drop a like, leave a comment telling me which item caught you off guard, and subscribe so you do not miss the rest of this breakdown. Number 17. Olive oil. Olive oil has turned into something no cooking staple has ever been before. It is now a geopolitical barometer. The United States imports more than 95% of its olive oil, primarily from Spain, Italy, Tunisia, and Greece. In May 2026, Spain's Olive Production Association released a warning that 70% of the entire season's production had already been sold within just 7 months. The flowering fertility projections for the upcoming 2026-2027 harvest are sitting at 37% below normal. That is not a temporary dip. That is structural damage forming in real time across the groves. Then, layer on the shipping crisis. Since the Strait of Hormuz was effectively closed in late February 2026, following military operations connected to the Iran conflict, major container lines including Maersk and CMA CGM have suspended transits through the area. Forbes reported in late March that fuel costs for shipping olive oil from the Mediterranean to American ports have surged dramatically, with diesel prices climbing more than 50% since the conflict kicked off. A bottle of extra virgin olive oil that was $8 on a Walmart shelf 12 months ago is now sitting at $11 or $12. And the store allocation has been cut by roughly a third, according to my contact. Think about what that bottle went through to reach your kitchen. 5,000 miles across an ocean, through a conflict zone, on a shipping route that functionally no longer operates the way it did 6 months ago. Buy 1 extra bottle per shopping trip for the next 3 trips and rotate through your supply. At current prices, you are looking at $33 to $36 for 4 to 6 months of cooking oil locked in. Number 16. Canned chili. Walk into any Walmart and you will spot canned chili sitting on an end cap or tucked near the soup aisle, still wearing a price tag that looks like a deal. That appearance has an expiration date. Conagra Brands, the parent company behind Wolf Brand Chili and Banquet Meals, disclosed during its July 2025 earnings call that the current tariff environment would tack on roughly 3% to its total cost of goods sold. That translates to more than $200 million annually across 2026. CEO Sean Conley stated the company planned to manage this through alternative sourcing, internal cost cutting, and what he called targeted price adjustments. In plain language, that means the price on the shelf is going up. The mechanism is the same one hammering every canned product on this entire list. Section 232 tariffs at 50% on the steel that makes the can. The American Action Forum calculated that if those tariffs hold, the tariff-related cost burden could eat up to 12% of a can manufacturer's total operating expenses. For a thin-margin product like canned chili, 12% is the line between staying on the shelf and getting quietly discontinued. Stock 6 to 8 cans at current pricing. They last 2 to 3 years and run under $3 each. Number 15. Condensed soup. Nobody is talking about this one, but the math is identical to canned chili and arguably worse. Condensed soup, the Campbell's and store brand cans that have sat at roughly $1 to $1.50 for decades, runs on the thinnest margins in the entire canned food category. The can itself now represents a larger percentage of the total product cost than the soup inside it. Campbell's reported in its fiscal 2026 second quarter earnings that input cost inflation, particularly in packaging materials, was outpacing its ability to pass costs to consumers without losing volume. The company specifically cited tin plate steel as a primary cost driver. When a company that has been canning soup since the 1860s starts publicly flagging the cost of the can in earnings calls, the situation is serious. These cans are the backbone of quick weeknight meals for millions of families. Cream of mushroom goes into casseroles. Tomato soup is lunch with a grilled cheese. Chicken noodle is what you make when somebody in the house is sick. These are not luxury items. They are infrastructure. Grab a dozen assorted cans on your next trip. You are looking at $12 to $18 for a month of meal bases that store for 3 to 5 years. Number 14. Fresh tomatoes. Tomatoes are so basic, so ubiquitous, so completely woven into everyday cooking that most families never stop to ask where they actually come from. The answer should grab your attention. America imports approximately 70% of its fresh tomatoes. Mexico supplies around 90% of those imports. In the summer of 2025, a 17% tariff landed on fresh Mexican tomatoes. Then, between December 2025 and January 2026, a brutal deep freeze tore through Florida during peak growing season and wiped out up to 80% of the crop. The Wells Fargo Agri-Food Institute documented the damage. The result? The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that fresh tomato prices in May 2026 were 32% higher than the same month a year earlier. 32% on a vegetable your family probably buys every single week. A pound of tomatoes at Walmart that cost $1.58 last summer is now running over $2.25. Stack the Iran conflict's impact on diesel on top of that. Refrigerated produce trucking costs are up more than 50% since February 2026, according to AA. And you are watching every single link in the tomato supply chain get more expensive at the same time. If you have the space, one tomato plant in a 5-gallon bucket on a patio produces 8 to 12 pounds per season. The seed packet is under $3. Quick pause. If you are still here, you are clearly the kind of person who takes this stuff seriously. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it helps more families see this information. Number 13. Coffee. You already know coffee matters to your household. What you probably do not know is how close the entire global supply came to cracking apart over the past 18 months. Arabica futures on the Intercontinental Exchange hit $3.80 per pound in January 2026. That is the highest price since the contract started trading. Brazil, which grows nearly half the world's Arabica, went through its worst drought on historical record during 2024. That drought hammered trees during the critical flowering stage and slashed yield projections for 2 consecutive harvests. Vietnam, the biggest Robusta producer on the planet, saw its output fall 20% in the 2023-2024 crop year. The USDA's June 2026 food price outlook projects non-alcoholic beverage prices to climb 5.2% this year, and coffee is the primary driver. As of early July 2026, Arabica futures are still trading between $3.20 and $3.50 per pound, well above the $2 average of the prior decade. That 12-ounce can of ground coffee your family grabs without thinking has gone from $7 or $8 to north of $10 at most Walmart locations. A 30% jump in 18 months on the single most psychologically stabilizing morning ritual in the American household. Buy 1 extra container per month for 3 months and rotate through them. At $10 to $12 each, that is $30 to $36 for a quarter supply locked at today's number. Number 12. Canned tuna. Nobody throws a party over canned tuna. Nobody puts it on the dinner menu when company comes over. But crack open a can of Chunk Light, drain the liquid, and you are holding one of the most cost-efficient complete proteins available anywhere in the American food supply. The problem is that this staple is getting crushed from 2 sides simultaneously. The Bells reported fish and seafood prices jumped 2% in a single month between April and May of 2026. The USDA projects the category will finish the year above its 20-year historical average. On one side, the fish itself costs more because fuel prices for commercial fishing vessels have spiked since the Iran conflict sent Brent crude above $95 a barrel in March 2026. On the other side, the can costs more for every reason we have already covered. Section 232 tariffs at 50% on steel. A 75% decline in domestic tin plate production lines since 2018. My contact said tuna allocations to his store have been trimmed, and one national brand that used to carry a 3-pack is now only stocked as singles. The margin no longer works for the retailer. Grab the 10-packs or 12-packs while they still exist on the shelf. A single can runs about $1.30 right now. A 12-pack puts you under $16 for over 100 grams of protein. Number 11. Chocolate products, chocolate chips, chocolate bars, boxed brownie mixes with real cocoa. The entire chocolate section at Walmart is catching heat from both ends of the ingredient supply chain. The Bells reported that the candy and chewing gum subcategory, which includes most chocolate products, was the primary driver behind the sugar and sweets category, hitting 7.1% year-over-year growth in May 2026. Cocoa prices went through the roof in late 2024, then crashed more than 50%, but they are still structurally elevated compared to anything before 2023. Meanwhile, sugar, the other core ingredient in every chocolate product, is climbing at roughly 7% annually. When you add those two ingredient cost curves together, producing a bag of chocolate chips in 2026 costs meaningfully more than it did even a year ago. Nestle's CFO told analysts in early 2026 that while commodity costs might ease somewhat, margins would only improve in the second half, and the company is actively reformulating products and shrinking package sizes. That little glossy bag of semi-sweet chips that used to be $2.49 now sits at $3.50 or $3.99. For a family that bakes regularly, that adds up fast. A batch of brownies costs almost nothing in labor, but communicates abundance to an entire household. Protecting that feeling is worth a few extra bags in the pantry. Pick up 3 bags at today's price and seal them in a cool, dry spot. They hold for 18 to 24 months. Number 10. Peanut butter here is one nobody saw coming. Peanut butter has been one of the most price-stable proteins in the American pantry for years. That stability is eroding. Peanut crops across Georgia and the Southeast, which produce the majority of domestic peanuts, face tough growing conditions in 2025. USDA data shows peanut stocks tightened heading into 2026. Meanwhile, the jar itself, whether glass or plastic with a metal lid, is subject to the same packaging cost inflation hitting every shelf-stable product. Transportation costs for moving heavy jars from processing facilities to distribution centers have climbed right alongside diesel. The Bill's data shows fats and oils, the broader category that includes peanut butter, trending upward. A standard 16-ounce jar of store-brand peanut butter that held at $2.50 or so for years is now pushing $3 or above at many locations. Peanut butter is one of those last resort proteins families turn to when meat gets too expensive. It is the fallback of the fallback. When the fallback itself starts climbing, there is nowhere left to retreat. Buy 2 extra jars on your next trip. They last 12 months unopened in the pantry and cost almost nothing relative to what they deliver nutritionally. We are halfway through. If you are finding value in this, a quick like and subscribe keeps the channel going and helps other families find this information. Appreciate it. Number 9. Ground beef. Most people assume ground beef is just temporarily expensive and will eventually settle back down. That assumption is fundamentally wrong, and the reason starts with one number. The USDA's January 2026 cattle inventory report put the total U.S. herd at 86.2 million head. That is the smallest herd in 75 years, the lowest count since 1951. The 2025 calf crop came in at 32.9 million head, down 2% from the prior year and the smallest calf crop since 1941. You cannot rush biology. A cow's gestation period is 9 months. A calf takes at least 17 months to grow before slaughter. Rebuilding this herd is a multi-year project, and there are no shortcuts. On top of that, in May 2025, the USDA closed the U.S. southern border to all live cattle imports from Mexico due to New World screwworm concerns. Mexico accounted for approximately 62% of U.S. cattle imports between 2020 and 2024, representing 1.2 to 1.5 million head per year. That pipeline is shut. The Bells has ground beef at $6.75 per pound as of May 2026, up nearly 13% from a year earlier. Beefsteak averaged $12.80 per pound, up 16%. A 1-pound tube of 80/20 ground beef that cost $4.79 2 years ago now costs $6.75. That is not a blip on a chart. That is a biological reality that no executive order or policy adjustment can reverse quickly. Buy in bulk on sale days. Portion into 1-pound freezer bags and freeze flat. Your freezer preserves beef perfectly for 6 to 12 months, and buying at today's price is going to look like a bargain by October. Number 8. Bacon. A package of center-cut bacon at Walmart has stayed relatively steady compared to beef over the past year. That steadiness has a deadline. The Bells reported pork prices rose a full percentage point in just 1 month between April and May 2026, and were 2.6% higher than the same month last year. But the real pressure point is not the hog, it is the fuel. Since the Iran conflict pushed Brent crude past $95 per barrel in March 2026, the cost of refrigerated trucking, which is literally the only way pork moves from a processing plant to a retail shelf, has surged. IAA data through June 2026 shows diesel up more than 50% since the conflict started in late February. Pork is the single most transportation-sensitive protein in the entire American grocery chain because it demands unbroken cold chain logistics from the moment of slaughter to the moment it hits the cooler at the store. Center-cut bacon at Walmart currently sits between $6 and $7 per pound. My contact said his store has already received advance notice of a supplier price adjustment coming in August. Those adjustments typically hit the shelf within 3 to 4 weeks. That means early September, right on schedule with everything else on this list. Buy 2 extra packages on your next trip and freeze them flat. Bacon freezes beautifully for 4 to 6 months with almost zero quality loss. At $6 to $7 a pound, that is $12 to $14 for 2 months of Saturday mornings. Number 7. Chicken breast. Chicken breast is the protein most American families fall back on when everything else gets too expensive. And that default role is exactly what makes it a target. The Bells reported poultry prices rose 1.3% in a single month from April to May 2026. That might not sound alarming until you realize it is happening while chicken is supposed to be the pressure relief valve for families abandoning expensive beef. The USDA's June 2026 Food Price Outlook projects poultry to rise 1.6% for the full year, but the upper end of their prediction range stretches to 4%. The wild card that could push it to that upper bound is highly pathogenic avian influenza. PI has not gone away. The USDA is actively monitoring detections across wild bird populations and commercial flocks in multiple states. Any significant outbreak could choke supply fast, exactly the way it did with eggs in 2025. Then layer on labor. Cornell University professor Christopher Barrett told Newsweek in February 2026 that labor accounts for half the cost of food in your grocery cart, and the food system is especially reliant on foreign-born workers. Immigration enforcement is generating real labor shortages in poultry processing plants, driving up the cost of moving chicken from the farm to the foam tray. A boneless, skinless chicken breast that was $3 a pound is quietly becoming a $3.50 or $4 product. And it is the protein families have no further retreat from when it moves. Buy a family pack on sale, divide into individual portions, and freeze. A 10-pound family pack at Walmart currently runs between $22 and $26. That is 5 to 6 dinners locked in at today's cost. Number 6. Cooking oil. Everyone is focused on olive oil, but the everyday cooking oils, vegetable oil and canola oil, are under their own quiet pressure. Global rapeseed production, the source crop for canola oil, has been uneven. Canada, the world's dominant canola exporter, faced dry conditions in key growing regions during the 2025 season. Soybean oil, the base for most vegetable oil, tracks directly with soybean futures, which have been volatile due to trade tensions and biofuel mandates diverting supply away from food use. A 48-ounce bottle of store-brand vegetable oil that held around $3 for years has crept past $3.50 in many regions. The move is subtle enough that most households absorb it without noticing. But cooking oil is a daily use product. You reach for it multiple times a week. Those small price increases compound across a year into real money. Buy one extra bottle on your next 2 trips. Sealed vegetable and canola oil lasts 12 to 18 months in a cool pantry. Almost there. If you have made it this far, you are clearly paying attention. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. It genuinely makes a difference for the channel. Number 5. Rice. Rice is the most consumed staple grain on Earth and one of the cheapest calorie sources available at any American grocery store. It is also increasingly vulnerable. India, the world's largest rice exporter, imposed export restrictions on non-basmati white rice in 2023 and has only partially relaxed them. Global rice stocks remain tight. Meanwhile, domestic rice production in the U.S. has been flat, and the same diesel cost increases hitting every other supply chain apply equally to the heavy bags of rice being trucked from mills in Arkansas and Louisiana to distribution centers nationwide. A 10-pound bag of store-brand long-grain white rice that held under $6 is now edging towards $7 or $8 at many Walmart locations. Rice lasts essentially forever when stored in a sealed container in a cool, dry spot. There is almost no reason not to have an extra bag or 2 on hand. Buy 1 extra bag per trip for 2 trips, under $16 for 20 pounds of caloric security that does not expire in any meaningful time frame. Number 4. Canned beans. Black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans. The canned beans section faces the exact same can-cost crisis as every other canned product on this list, but with an added twist. Canned beans are one of the primary protein sources for budget-conscious households and families reducing meat consumption. As beef and chicken prices climb, demand for canned beans increases. Rising demand meets rising packaging costs. That is a pricing squeeze from both ends. The Bell's data shows the broader legume and dried vegetable category trending upward. A can of store-brand black beans that was 79 cents is now pushing 99 cents or above. That does not sound like much until you realize a family eating beans 3 times a week just absorbed a 25% increase on a staple they depend on. Buy a case of 12 to 15 assorted cans. At current pricing, that is $10 to $15 for a multi-month supply of complete plant protein that stores for 3 to 5 years. Number 3. Fresh romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce looks like the most interchangeable vegetable in the produce department. Just grab iceberg instead, right? The data tells a different story. The Bells reported retail fresh vegetable prices in May 2026 were 11.9% higher than the same month a year prior, nearly 12% in a single year. The USDA projects fresh vegetable prices will rise 7% for the full year of 2026, with the upper bound above 11%. Romaine is especially exposed because of geography and labor. The vast majority of winter romaine grows in the Yuma, Arizona region and California's Salinas Valley. Both regions are heavily dependent on seasonal labor that is directly impacted by immigration enforcement. Reports on Reddit noted romaine shortages as far back as late 2025, and at least one restaurant chain had to notify customers that certain salad options were temporarily off the menu. My contact said romaine pricing in his store has been unpredictable week to week, sometimes jumping 30 or 40 cents per head within a single delivery cycle. That kind of volatility tells you the supply chain is stretched to its limit. There is no long-term storage play for fresh romaine the way there is for canned goods. What you can do is buy whole heads instead of the pre-washed bags, which carry a significant convenience markup. And if you are interested, romaine is one of the easiest lettuces to grow in containers. It germinates in about a week and reaches harvest size in roughly 60 days. Number 2. Dried pasta. This one flies completely under the radar. Dried pasta, spaghetti, penne, macaroni has been $1 per box staple for so long that nobody watches it. But durum wheat, the specific grain variety used to make semolina flour for pasta, has had a rough couple of years. Canadian durum production, which the U.S. relies on for imports, has been inconsistent due to drought. Domestic durum acreage in North Dakota and Montana has fluctuated. Meanwhile, the same packaging and transportation cost pressures hitting everything else on this list apply to pasta. The cardboard boxes are more expensive. The energy to run the production lines costs more. The diesel to truck cases to warehouses costs more. A 1-pound box of store-brand spaghetti that was 99 cents is now $1.29 or $1.39 in many stores. Pasta is one of the most calorie-dense, shelf-stable foods you can buy. It lasts essentially forever in a dry pantry. Pick up 5 to 10 extra boxes over your next couple of trips. At $1.30 each, you are looking at $7 to $13 for a month or more of dinner bases. Number 1. Canned vegetables. This is the one my Walmart contact was most insistent about. Canned corn, canned green beans, canned peas. The products sitting in the dead center of every grocery aisle in America. The ones nobody thinks about until they are suddenly gone. The reason these are at the top of this list has absolutely nothing to do with corn harvests or green bean crop yields. The crisis is the can itself. On June 4, 2026, Section 232 steel tariffs were raised to 50%. The Can Manufacturers Institute reported that 80% of the tin plate steel used to produce food cans in America is imported from allied nations. Since 2018, 9 domestic tin plate production lines have been shut down. That is a 75% decline in domestic production capacity. There simply is not enough American-made tin plate to build the number of cans this country needs.